Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman. We are an open and inclusive community. We walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose, but we're united in our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of everyone and by the responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Elaine, and I have been an active member of this community since 2019. I've enjoyed encouraging voter registration and helping cook for the Feed NC. For now, we're staying with live Zoom. Thank you, Autumn, for technical help and posting the service to our website and YouTube. During the service, listeners will be muted. But after the service, members, friends, and visitors are invited to talk with our guest speaker and each other. Our speaker today is Travis Smith, founder and executive director of Blue Ridge Hope, a nonprofit that connects individuals with resources that help them reach emotional goals, reconcile personal loss, and develop health and wholeness. Travis is a grief counselor who served with Hospices in Western North Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina for 10 years. He earned his bachelor's degree in religious studies and his master's of divinity in pastoral counseling from Gardner-Webb University in Boiling Springs, North Carolina. He's going to speak today of winds of change, sustainable changes, and motivation toward the positive under stress. Reverend Travis will offer a few opening words.
Thank you so much. I want to begin this morning with a quote from Lao Tzu that says, "If you do not change direction, you might end up where you are heading."
Okay, thank you. That sounds good. Mike is going to offer us a few contemplative sounds from his guitar.
Well, not everybody that's a musical artist is well known, but we lost last week a great singer and composer who wrote this timeless melody.
Thanks, Mike. That was beautiful. I don't remember the name of the composer. Anyway, Gary. No, we're not going to be able to hear everything you say. Sorry. Okay. I've lit the chalice, and as a community, we light a chalice and offer a thought about what it means. We light the flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. We are a spiritual and caring community where joys are amplified and sorrows lessened. You're welcome to share your personal joys and sorrows after the service in our member Zoom. For now, we recognize and embrace all those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts unspoken. A reflection now from Reverend Travis.
Thank you so much. I'm in the attempts today of trying a new piece of technology that I think may make it more beneficial for me doing a live Zoom. So if for some reason today something falls apart, just yell really loud so I'll know that I'm not on the screen anymore. But today I wanted to talk to you about change, the winds of change. I think change is, for some of us, we long for it. And for others, we cringe at the sound of the word. Mark Twain once said that no one likes change but a wet baby. Well, Mr. Clemens, I certainly think that is contextual, because for many of us, we do desire change in our lives. We desire change in our present circumstances. I think for many of us, the question is, how do we get there? Or maybe the better question is, how do we avoid the landmines in the path of change? For example, we're coming to the close of the month of February. You see, we've tucked away January, which is often the month where people set aside time for change. They want to change something from their past. They want to make a New Year's resolution or try to maybe not only change, but maybe just try new things. And New Year's resolutions, as we know very well, can have a variety of fashion. I mean, they come from everything from what is called veganuary, which is the idea that we're going to go vegan for the month of January. Some people take that. They like the resolution of veganuary. Others also like to come about in this month and pledge to maybe drink less or to drink not at all. And then some of us find ourselves in this place in January, which is we've been having this long fight of a battle of the bulging waistline. And we commit ourselves in January to either lose weight or to be healthy. And that is today where I'm going to have to intersect with this sermon. Today, I'm going to have to carry out a task that I'm going to be really honest with you today is uncomfortable for me. It's a task that I believe in, but it's a task that is difficult. And that task is something that we call confessional preaching, meaning that today I'm not coming to you as an expert. I'm not coming to you today as someone who has mastered anything we are discussing, but rather I come to you today as someone who is in the midst of the struggle personally myself. You see, I'm in the process of experiencing the very thing I'm talking about. I'm speaking out today from my own woundedness in my confessional style, that so out of my own woundedness that perhaps I may access those areas of your life that feel wounded. On January the 8th, 2022, which is Elvis's birthday, that's an amazing synchronicity in itself. I began a journey again that is all too familiar with me. A journey that I wanted to change my body toward a healthier version of myself. So there I was on Elvis's birthday, making a change. One day, I want to tell you about the mind-blowing connections I have with Elvis Presley. They're absurd, but that's not what I'm here to focus on today. I'm here to focus on the change that I want to make, the change that maybe others want to make. So there I was on January 8th, making my belated New Year's resolution. I'm going to be honest, I really wasn't even making a New Year's resolution. I gave up on resolutions for quite a while ago, but January the 8th sparked something in me. It had nothing necessarily to do with Elvis's birthday consciously. We'll talk about that synchronicity another time, but it did do something in my brain. It said something to me that said, hey, you have to make a change. And I think that's interesting because we make so many choices for change in January. Now, why is that? Like, why is it that January becomes the month that so many people make changes? And by the way, here we are, February the 27th. And statistics show that by this point, 80% have given up whatever resolution or choice they wanted to make in January. But what's interesting is that January is named after the Roman god Janus, who had two faces. And they faced in two opposite directions so that he could see the past and he could see the future at the same time. You see, the god Janus, who the month is named after, was a gatekeeper. Janus was a gatekeeper who guarded the doors to the future. And the reason he guarded the doors to the future is that he could learn from the past so that he could see clearly into the future. So here we are. We're at the end of February. We're a month, almost 2 months into the end of January. And I want to talk about the change that we're trying to make. Maybe the change that we've already given up on, if statistics are true, that 80% of us have. But we want to talk about what is it that brings about change? What is it that the winds of change that come into my life and perhaps into your life and bring about this experience that has a positive effect? And that's where we are on this day. We want to try to learn from our past so that we can change our future. And I think the first way we do that is we have to learn, and this is the hard one for me, to embrace dissatisfaction. You see, I think sometimes we say we're never satisfied. And many times we focus on how we as humanity are never satisfied. We focus on that as a bad thing. And there's no doubt it definitely can be a terrible thing. I mean, dissatisfaction is a component of greed. Dissatisfaction is a component of power. And I think, unfortunately, we're seeing that play out now on a world stage with Ukraine. Apparently, Putin is not satisfied until he controls Ukraine. Power, corruption, war, atrocities, all those things find their roots somewhere in dissatisfaction. But have you ever thought that also dissatisfaction has another side of its face? It has another side of its coin that can play a positive role in our lives when we want to bring about positive change. Have you ever considered that perhaps our inability to be satisfied is actually part of the evolutionary progress of us being living beings? I mean, from technology to personal development, I'm so glad that those who came before me were not satisfied with the status quo. But I think the question is, are we ready to let go of the secondary gain for change? Now, let me explain that just for a moment, because secondary gain is something that I find fascinating. Secondary gain is this idea that there's something that keeps us from changing for the positive, because in that dissatisfaction, we're gaining something that feels powerful to us. Perhaps let me just be confessional today, as I said, and tell you my own story. One of the things that my goal is, as I set on January 8th, was to not just lose weight, but to be a healthier version of myself physically. I've struggled with obesity and weight and unhealthiness in that way my entire life. I can remember, I go back to 5 years old and remember my mother being concerned about my weight and taking me to a physician to see, why is it that Travis is larger in weight than the other kids? And there's a million reasons that stuff kind of gets stuck in your mind over the years, and you feel that pressure. And I no doubt that's part of my story. But something that I learned early on, because I have spent a significant part of my life trying to figure out why I hang on to that secondary gain of being overweight. And I can tell you that one of my secondary gains that keep me from making changes is that when I have been significantly the largest in weight in the room, people accept me differently. And let me explain that, because you think about, well, if you're heavy, people kind of ostracize you. They don't want to be around you. See, I've experienced the opposite, because I've always been a person of great caring nature. And because I walk into a room with a sense of compassion and a sense that already people feel that I'm altruistic, they trust me quicker because of my weight. I know that sounds absurd, but let me explain it. I've seen it over and over and over. As I have spent countless moments reflecting on my own secondary gain, I've learned that one of those is acceptability. People are comfortable with me because I am the overweight caregiver. I am that person that they know they can bring their deepest, darkest secrets to, and the judgment is going to be non-existent or less because they literally can see my own struggles on my skin. I think deep in our spirits, we yearn for more. But sometimes what keeps us held back is that secondary gain. Do we trust that whatever is coming next will actually be worth the trade-off? And I think so many of us today, not just with weight, but we come unhappy with ourselves for outside situations. Maybe it's the job, or maybe it's the marriage, or maybe it's something that we want to bring about that's different, a change. And I think that desire inside of us that is dissatisfaction, actually, I like to term it, when it's for the positive, it's actually holy restlessness. You see, holy restlessness is something that I had in my spirit on January the 8th. Holy restlessness is something that you've had in your spirit at times when you wanted to bring about something that was different. That holy restlessness maybe is a better way of saying we're dissatisfied with our present circumstances because we want to bring about a positive change. But you see, it can't stop with holy restlessness, because if we just feel the restlessness or the dissatisfaction, then we never get to where we want to go. We never lay down the secondary gain. And see, that takes us to the second thing that I think is so important to bringing about change in our life. And that is, we have to take the next step forward. Now, that sounds obvious, right? But see, the pitfall isn't dissatisfaction. The pitfall is that we are impatient people and we do not like the process. Okay, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. Okay, maybe I am just speaking about my own experience here, but I think I'm not. Because the moments that I have not accomplished the change I desired were moments that I regressed and fell back into the unhealthy habits because I had an inability to make the next best decision as it related to my desire for change. You see, I truly wanted to change. And I had factors that made me uncomfortable. I had factors that made me have this unrestlessness and my desire to move forward. But as we take those next steps, and if we don't take the next one and the next one and the next best decision, then we fall into what I call that mundane. That place where mundane creeps in and we feel impatient. We feel like our goal is never going to be attained. And we think that it's too far away. And then we begin to think that there's no way we're going to get there. You see, that's why I think our friends in AA get something about this. They get something that's really key. And that's that they believe that it's about progress, not perfection. You see, when I have had those moments in my life where I wanted change and wanted it badly, I got caught up in perfection when I didn't attain it. I got caught up not in the next step, not in the next best decision, not in taking the next best possible option forward. I got caught up in the fact that somehow I missed something along the way. You see, I've done that so much to myself. I've let my slips end up taking me backwards so far that I didn't accomplish my goals. You see, do you think anyone doesn't accomplish their goals because they have a day that's off or they have a week that's off? No. What happens is when we have that day that is off or that week that is off, then we spiral into this belief that we have failed. We spiral into this belief that begot shame. And then shame begot shame. And then all of a sudden, our momentum shifts and we are completely off target. You see, that's why I believe that when real change happens, we have to have the holy restlessness. We have to have the uncomfort. We have to have this sense that something's got to be different. But if we don't take the best next step, that's where we start to fail. And sometimes the best next step isn't perfection. Actually, it's rarely ever perfection. It's not meeting your goals 100% of the time. It's learning to be able to shift and move and adjust to those goals. which I believe brings me to that next point that I want to make, is that when we want to have real change, we have to learn to embrace the twists and the turns. The next important point of the change journey for me is learning to embrace the experience of change. Now, some of the most wonderful events of my life did not happen when things went exactly as I thought they would. Rather, instead, it is often when the twists and the turns happen that we find exactly what we need. Perhaps that's the synchronicity of it all, where we find purpose in what may seem to be unrelated. Carl Jung once said, who coined the term synchronicity, he said that we all have a purpose, we have a trajectory, and we all can have positive influence on that trajectory when we recognize the twist and the turns of synchronicity. I guess in a hokey way, that's like saying, embrace the twist and the turns of change because things have a way of working out. And I realize that's not always true. At least it doesn't always work out in a way that we feel good about. Yet I'm going to say today that I can be honest that more things have worked out for me than they haven't. More things have worked out for me than I expected. Rumi once said that to live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. I get it. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's rigged in our favor. I understand that. But one of the things that I have come to realize is that one of the realities that we learn as we think things through is that the twists and the turns can take us to exactly where we need to be. And that has been true for me. That has been true for my own journey of change. I think that there are moments in our life that just become what I call markers on the road. Have you ever been driving down the road and you see this historical marker and you look at it and you think, wow, let me see if I can catch it just for the moment out of the corner of my eye to figure out what event happened here at this location or near this location. I think we have those in our lives. I think we have those in our lives that are markers along the road of change for us. They're markers along the road that tell us that something went down here that will forever change the course of history. And sometimes that course of history is our life. We have those. And can you look back on your life and see those? Can you look back on your life and see those markers that happen along the way? I think it's important for us to be able to do that. I told you today that I was using a different technology to speak to you, and that technology failed about 3 minutes ago. So if you'll give me a moment, I'm going to pull up the rest of my sermon here in front of me because it completely went black and dark on the screen. You see, the twists and turns that have happened along the way sometimes have taken me, as I said, to where I needed to be. The marriage that ended led me to a marriage that's full of love. Or that job that I didn't get led me to a job that's full of fulfillment. It's those twists and turns and allowing us to embrace those that can be so important to how we are pliable for change. I saw a movie over 10 years ago, and it's a movie that has stuck in my mind. A movie that I go back and I play certain scenes over in my head many times with. The movie is called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Maybe you've seen this movie, and maybe you are familiar with the performances of Judi Dench and Maggie Smith. Judi Dench is playing the character of Evelyn, and Evelyn says to Maggie Smith's character, Muriel, she says, "Nothing here has worked out quite as I expected." And Muriel looks back at Evelyn and she says, most things don't. But sometimes what happens instead is the good stuff. I don't know what journey you're on today for change. I don't know what winds you're hoping to blow in and bring about something different in your life. But what I do know today is that you got to get to the place of dissatisfaction and lose the secondary gain to bring it about. I also know that you got to take the next step. You got to move in the direction of change. You can't fight it. Well, we all fight it, I guess, to a point, but we have to keep picking ourselves back up and pushing. And then all I can say is buckle your seatbelt, pull down the roller coaster bar, and hang on, baby, because there's some twists and turns coming that you never anticipated, but might be your very salvation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm enraptured. I don't know what to say, but Mike's going to follow up. I'm sorry you're following that.
Maybe someday we can rise and see. Open up our eyes, it may be. Turn a corner, you may find worlds of love and peace of mind. Yeah. One fine morning, you will rise, greet the new day from your eyes. Broken spirits trying to heal the scars, searching for an answer in the stars. How can I just close my eyes? How can I just let it slide? Yeah. One fine morning you will rise, lift the curtain from your eyes. And you know it's true. You know it's true. Yeah. Maybe someday we can stop the rains, open up our hearts and heal the pain. Feel the love that's calling you. Take these words and make them true. Yeah. One fine morning you will see. Break those chains and set it free. Hey, yeah. Let's spread the wonder all across the universe. Reach out and seize a moment before it slips away. Don't let it slip away. Hey, you know it's true. You know it's true. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Mike and Travis. And Mike, I apologize. I thought you had a hard act to follow, but you really complimented Travis' speech perfectly. So
Thank you.
thank you.
It is a hard act to follow.
Okay, we're very happy about everybody contributing to the fellowship. And your monetary contributions also helps grow our congregation and confirming our commitment to the larger community. You're going to find our mailing address on the website, the Facebook page, and in the newsletter. So please check the newsletter. We also have social activities like book club and going to movies, discussing the movies, having dinner out, and we'd be happy to see you. I'm going to extinguish this chalice, which you probably didn't see before because I didn't hold it up. But not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. I invite you all to the post-service chat. Thank you.